Knicks Nation, today is Monday, the 8th day of April 2024. I hope you had a good weekend this weekend. Happy Monday to you. And I hope that you and your family are safe and healthy. Speaking of health, blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, who along with the first responders are every day saving lives. Those also that pick up garbage to keep our places clean and disease-free. Those also that make deliveries for our convenience, and double blessings upon the men and women that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and children that are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are also the victims of pornography, child pornography, prostitution, child prostitution, human trafficking, sex slavery. Double curses upon the perpetrators, the perverts, and profiteers of these things. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, children, families homeless in the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. There was a basketball game last night in Milwaukee. The Knicks came back from 11 down to overwhelm the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, Milwaukee was at full strength at the beginning of the game, but Chris Middleton, who is in the Anthony Ambulance School of Unavailability, unfortunately hurt himself and had to leave the game I think it was about at the half, or a little after, maybe the third quarter. But it didn't matter. The Knicks, led by Jalen Brunson and the usual suspects, the whole Villanova crew led by Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo was huge last night. And of course, the bench with MitchRob, it was really three. Tom has cut back some of Precious's minutes recently. I think he's kind of going with what the matchup situation is. But last night he went with Bodega44. MitchRob, and Deuce. And he didn't have to use them a lot either, because Deuce is really kind of a bellwether these days, and he played 18 minutes last night. He did not play his usual 35, 40 minutes. And that's because the starting unit was feeling energized, as we thought they would, and they were coming out like gangbusters. The Knicks really, they beat them in points in the paint, 44-34. Okay, they beat them. They had 7 turnovers to 14 for the Bucks. The Knicks rebounded 41-38. Offensive boards though 13-9. When you have Josh Hartenstein, or Isaiah Hartenstein, and Mitchell Robinson, you're going to do some rebounding, okay? And that's what they missed against Chicago Friday. But no, and Milwaukee actually got 32 foul shots to our 22, and it was because the referees were a little ridiculous yesterday. No, they were a lot ridiculous yesterday. But the Knicks, with the rebounding, with the defense, with the points in the paint and getting in the paint consistently, and I gotta give it to Bodega 44 played good yesterday. And what it was is, well, we know now Burks is out of the rotation. I was expecting Precious to be ahead of Bodega 44. But what it was is Bodega 44 is able to be maxed, a little bit in the second unit when Mitchell Robinson is out there with Deuce McBride. You got Mitchell Robinson and Deuce McBride out there, and then Thibs was adding a Hart or OG Anunoby, who, by the way, was doing as good a job as you can, because Giannis is in his prime, and he was in his bag yesterday. I mean, he was in his bag, and OG was there battling with him. Now, it's not like you're going to say you're going to lock up Antetokounmpo. You're not going to do that. But he had 28, 15 boards. He's going to do his thing, 8 assists. But to make him work hard for his average is what you want to do. And the Knicks did that. Middleton, I think, was early. He only played 13 minutes, so it must have been the second quarter when he got hurt. But the Knicks did a tremendous job. And, of course, they did a job. Dame Dollar, 4 of 11, 1 of 7 from the field. He had 15 foul shots himself. And I'm going to tell you, that it was a little bit, he was getting the benefit of the superstar status because he didn't get fouled that much. Okay, but he was getting all of them calls, and that's why he ended up with 23 points. He was on the line all night. But with all of that, it didn't help them. See, before I was telling y'all, I'm not afraid of anybody in the East. Now, I have some concerns with Orlando only because Orlando seems to have the Knicks number, at least during the regular season, the way Cleveland, the Knicks had Cleveland's number and still do. But that's the only concern. But we could take on all comers in the East. And right now, as it stands today, as we're looking at the standings in the East, right now the Knicks are tied for third. Well, technically Orlando's the third seed because they have the season series edge on the Knicks. And so Orlando is the third seed. The Knicks are the fourth seed, though they have the exact same record. And then Milwaukee, they're one game ahead of both of those. And then the Knicks are half a game ahead of Cleveland, who is now the fifth seed. Now, I'm looking at the schedule going forward for the three teams, really, Orlando, the Knicks, and Cleveland. I ain't look at Milwaukee yet, but I can. But for the Cavs, they got 3 games left. They're at home against the Grizzlies, they're at home against Indianapolis, and they're at home against the Hornets. Now, the only questionable game for them would be Indianapolis, but I wouldn't sleep on the Hornets because the Hornets, young dudes, they're getting their end of the season playing time, and like Miller and them, and they really want to look good. So they just the other night they just beat Cleveland. So here they go again. So Cleveland should win those 3 games. They should win those 3 games, but we'll see what happens. So right now that's their last 3 games, and then you got the Knicks tomorrow are at Chicago, then they're at Boston, and then they have Brooklyn and Chicago again, and that's their last 4 games. And then for the Magic, they're at Houston, they're at the Bucks, and that's a big game for both teams. They're at Philly, and that's a big game for both teams. And then they're at home against the Bucks. So to me, the Magic has the most challenging schedule in these last 4 games. So the Knicks, basically, from what Alan Hahn said last night, and I'm gonna take a risk, and I'm gonna take his word for it on this one. The Knicks need 1 more win to guarantee they'll be top 6 in the East. Okay, so they beat Chicago tomorrow. It's a guarantee they're top 6, and they clinch the playoff spot in the top 6. Now, if they can take care of business with these teams, now I don't know if Boston's game yesterday, Boston did not play Tatum. They did not play Tatum yesterday. They played everybody else, though. They just rested Tatum, which you understand how they do that. But I am shocked that they played Kristaps Porzingis. They played Kristaps Porzingis yesterday, and because he's the most vulnerable one in terms of getting hurt, and he is the key piece in my view. If they don't have Kristaps Porzingis, they're not winning 62 games, and they ain't going that far in the playoffs. They need KP. So they played KP last night, 27 minutes. Giroux played 21, White played 31, Brown played 30, Hartford played 21. So they cut back the minutes, and then you play, Hauser 27, Cornette 19, Pritchard 26, and then you play Xavier Tillman, they got from Memphis 17. So they did cut back the minutes. I'm expecting them to do that this week because now they've clinched the East. They have nothing to play for right now. Okay, they have nothing to play for except injuries. So I'm expecting them to play their starting 5 very light minutes against the Knicks. So that's a very winnable game for the Knicks. That's a very winnable game for New York. So that being the case, we got to take it 1 game at a time, but we got to beat Chicago first. The Knicks could very well end up in either the 2nd or the 3rd seed. They really could end up in the 2nd or the 3rd seed. And the worst case scenario, if they beat Chicago tomorrow night, is 6. That's their worst case scenario. Okay, so they've clinched a playoff spot by beating Chicago tomorrow, and they clinch a top 6 place in the East by beating Chicago tomorrow. So that's a big one. So then it's possible for them to actually get 2nd or 3rd seed in the East. Now we want that top 4, and if we can get top 3, it's even better because then we'd be looking at meeting Boston or somebody else in the Eastern Conference Finals, which is a really good thing. Now, again, this is where we at right now. This is looking really good. I'm loving the way our team is playing. As day by day, you notice MitchRob is getting a little bit more active. He's getting a little bit more of his timing back. He's getting a little bit more of his footwork back. Taking some time, but just his presence out there. So by the time we actually start the playoffs, after they play all the playing games and we start the playoffs, watch out. You're going to be all right. And OG looks good. See, the thing about OG Anunoby is, yeah, he wasn't shooting the ball well. No, he wasn't. But, that's a timing thing. But like I said, OG is plug and play. And for us, for the Knicks, again, we're talking about defense. You need to win with defense, especially coming down crunch time. You want to win playoff games? It's defense. It ain't how much people score. It's defense. Score is more glamorous. Score is more exciting. Score looks better. But those of us that are real, hardcore basketball fans, especially Knicks for a long time, and you've seen glory days of defense in the past, and you've seen teams that win chips play defense and get stops. This is a big thing for us. So OG just stepping on the floor and being able to head up and play Giannis head up. Even like I said, Giannis still went off, but OG made it very difficult for him. So imagine against the Celtics, you're going to have Hartenstein or MitchRob against KP and Al Horford. You're going to have Tatum being guarded by OG Anunoby. Josh Hart will be dealing with Jaylen Brown. And then, of course, now the weakness is going to be in the backcourt. So Devo is going to guard either Giroux or White, which leaves Brunson on the other side. Now, thing about Brunson, he really is not, an exemplary defensive player, but he is going to be tough. He's going to try to draw charges. He's going to step in front. That's what he's going to do. He's going to do the best he can in the Tom Thibodeau scheme for the Knicks defense. And that's going to be the ultimate test with Boston. So you got that. I'm not really worried about anybody else. I'm not looking past anybody. Let's get, first round. It looks like if the Knicks finish in the third seed, which I think they really could finish in the third seed, if they finish in the third seed, it'll be either against Miami or Indiana. Let me just look at the standings right now. If it was today, and the third seed would be playing the sixth seed. They play Indiana. But Indiana is a game ahead of Philly and a game and a half ahead of Miami. So this could go any kind of way. But if it was today, it'd be 1-8, 2-7, and 3-6. The Knicks, if it was today, the Knicks would be playing Cleveland 4-5. But I don't expect. I'm telling you, I think the Knicks can really get the third seed, and it depends on how Milwaukee does. They might be able to get the second seed. So this is really, I'm excited about this. I predicted 4-6 and 50 wins. I'm not sure about the 50 wins. They have to run the table to get 50 wins. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on them, but I think they could end up with a good 48, 49 wins now. So let's see how this rolls. And tomorrow night, we got Chicago. We owe them one. We'll talk to y'all later. Enjoy your Monday. Shalom.